Okay, Purdue gets a road win, their second one this week, 84-70 at Iowa. Anytime you can get back-to-back road wins in the Big Ten, I think that's a very successful week. Zach Edey, dominant once again, 30 points, 18 rebounds. Just more of the same of what we have come to expect from the best player in college basketball. But some other guys had big nights as well, specifically Lance Jones, who is making my colleague Carter Elliott and me to an extent look very stupid. He's been phenomenal in recent weeks. Really, really, really good offensive game from him here. Connor Hope, Heat Check CBB. Did anything surprise you in this game at all?
I mean, I'm glad you're coming around on Lance Jones, because I know I've been the Lance Jones truther on these previews and these discussions for a while now. Nothing really stuck out to me a ton in this game. We knew, I think I said it was like an 8 to 12 point victory for Purdue in a high scoring game. The last 10 minutes were relatively low scoring compared to the rest of the game. So they didn't quite hit, I think, like the 88-76 that I thought it was going to be. But look, Purdue controlled this game. Zach Edey went, what was it, 30-14 or 30-15 or whatever for the third straight game. The only other player to do it. I didn't actually see this stat come up, but my brother was texting me and said it was Glenn Robinson had done it before. I was looking back in the archives of stats of like top big men. Luka Garza had come close. Blake Griffin had come close. I don't think Wilt ever did it with the 15 rebounds 3 games in a row, but he had 30 and 10 for 3 games in a row in the tournament. But that is the caliber of player we're talking about when we're talking about the numbers that Zach Edey has been putting up the past few games. Look, it's Purdue. They are one of the most, if not the most complete teams in the country. You've got players that come off the bench that have very defined roles. I don't know if there's a player in the country with a more defined role than Ethan Morton. So this is a good team, and we can talk about Braden Smith and getting to double digits, because this is now 3 games in a row where he has not reached double digits, and he also didn't reach double digit assists in this game. So not a great game for Braden Smith.
So let me praise Purdue before we do the make me the scapegoat with Purdue thing again, which I'm happy to do. I have a lot of thoughts on Braden Smith and my relationship with Purdue fans in general right now. Look, at the end of the day, everyone needs to realize there's a big admiration and a big time respect coming from me first and foremost. The discrepancy here, the complaints seem to have been like, oh, I stuck a fork in the ground on the field of 68 and said, I'm not picking this team to the Final Four. I've been really hard on Braden Smith. Both of those are coming from places where I believe that Braden Smith is like one of the 5 best guards in the country. And if he's not playing like that, like I'm going to hold him accountable as if he should be. Maybe that's unfair. Maybe that scale's too hard for him or harsh. He's a sophomore. Sophomores sometimes go through bumps in the road. He certainly went through bumps in the road as a freshman. What I saw from him in the non-conference was that he took a massive leap forward. I didn't think there were going to be any more bumps in the road. And the truth is, even if Braden Smith plays not his best game, Purdue's usually going to win by double digits, even on the road in Carver Hawkeye Arena. They're that good. Zach Edey's that generational, like you said. Like it sounds stupid to say it out loud, but truly, he's like Wilt Chamberlain. Like that's the comp for this guy right now. And nobody wants to take that seriously, but he's that good. And Braden, to me, at a certain point in the season, they are going to need him to be better, even if they don't right now. And that's a difficult thing to talk about, because it sounds stupid to be the guy harping on, well, he's not at his best, but you're just not going to be able to look me in the eyes and tell me this team can win 6 consecutive games in March unless you're getting the Braden that you got in the Maui Invitational, that you got against Arizona and Alabama. If you get that Braden Smith, then no shit. This team is the favorite, and they're running away with it, no questions asked. But in reality, where we're at right now, Connor, they're a game behind Wisconsin in the Big Ten Conference. So there's a leap there. Like, is that still fair? Because what I saw from Braden in this game was more of the same of what I've been critical about. He was 4 for 12 from the floor. Was he aggressive for his shot? Yes, he was, but the shot's not going in right now. 9 assists are stellar. He's going to have 9 assist games damn near every single night. He's that good as a passer. He's spectacular. But he had 4 turnovers again, which is near the high end for him. And to me, if I was grading his performance, I would say this was a C at best.
Yeah, I mean, this was not a great game for him. A Braden Smith stat that I came across this morning actually was that he has not shot 50% from the floor in any game in Big 12 or Big 10 play, not once. He shot under 50% from the floor in, I believe it was 2 or 3 non-conference games this season. He shot under 50% against Tennessee. He shot under 50% against Morehead State. And I think there was one other one in there. No, Jacksonville was one of 2. So he shot under 50% in 2 of his non-con games, and he has not shot 50% or better in any Big Ten game. But look, he needs to, and I agree with you on this, he needs to prove that he can be a threat to score. And eventually that needs to be, he's going to have to shoot like he did against Maryland, where he went, not 50%, but he was 2 of 3 from deep, 4 of 10 from 2-point range. If he continues on the shooting trajectory that we've seen from Penn State, Indiana, Iowa, then eventually we're no longer going to view him as a threat to score. And that's where you get into issues. My bigger issue from him in this game against Iowa, and we saw it against Illinois a little bit, we saw it against Maryland, is just the turnovers sometimes can start to pile up, and at inopportune times. We saw inopportune turnovers against Northwestern at the end of that game. So that's where I think they run into bigger issues. But look, they have the best player in the country, like you said, a top 5 guard. Lance Jones and Lawyer are proving that they can be threats from deep. They can attack the basket if needed. Jones can play pretty solid defense. Like I said, Ethan Morton has the most defined role in college basketball, as you pull him in only to play defense. It's weird to me because he won't play an entire game sometimes and then come in the last 3 minutes just to play defense. And so if you can get what you got out of Lawyer, Jones, the ability to hit the 3 ball from Mason Gillis, like, I'm fine if Braden Smith only scores 9 points. It's when it's consistently 9 points on 12 shots. Mm-hmm. That's the bigger issue. Mm-hmm. And the 4 turnovers in this game, that's the bigger issue. But I still think I'd have Purdue as a favorite to make the Final Four, and probably the favorite to win it all. Just because even in the games where they haven't looked great, they've still, for the most part, pulled it out. Not talking about the road games against Nebraska and Northwestern, obviously, but I mean, this is a team that's proven that they can beat the best teams in the country. So.
Yeah. Let me be unequivocally clear about this, because somewhere along the way, I think it's gotten lost. And I'm all here for fun dialogues. I'm here for like the rivalry between Purdue fans and Carter and I right now. Carter was antagonizing them again from his seat at the Lions game today. I'm like, why, dude? Why are we doing this? The reality of this is Braden Smith at his absolute worst is still one of the 2 or 3 best guards in the Big Ten. He's one of the 10 to 15 best guards in the country. He's that good. Like, he can play his F game, and he is still a big time asset who's probably going to finish with 6 to 7 assists. Like, his worst game, I think, honestly looks pretty similar to this. Maybe his worst game is a little less aggressive. Like, maybe he's not willing to shoot as much. That's when you get worried, is like, he's not taking the attempts. He's passing up looks that are open. That's what happened last year, and he hasn't done that this year, and that's a credit to him. But to me, like, a bad Braden Smith game is still super high assists. It's just also high turnover, and his shots don't go in. That was essentially this game. But the point is, if they're going to win a national championship, which is the mark we are evaluating Purdue on, which is a credit to Matt Painter, it's a credit to Zach Edey, and it's a credit to Braden Smith and everybody else in this roster, he needs to be close to his ceiling, which we saw a ton in the non-conference. Like you said, the percentages were stupid. Maybe it was just a crazy hot shooting sample size. I don't know, but it was 2 months that he shot like that. And now we have, right now we have 28 games worth of sample size of him in the Big Ten Conference as a player. He hasn't been efficient like that. He's been in single digits, I think 62% of his 28 games as a conference player. So we'll see. We'll see where that lands them. Now, all of that aside, it's time for me to update my Final Four picks. You ready for this? This is a fluid situation.
I'm ready.
It's a fluid situation. Last week, I had Purdue out of my Final Four when I did the Field of 68 show. That was how I honestly felt. Again, spoiler alert, Purdue fans, it's a fluid situation. I had Arizona in my Final Four. Just see what Arizona did this week, Connor. I know that's your territory. I don't think I can stand behind this anymore. Purdue has re-entered my Final Four predictions. Do I feel great about it? No. They still got to earn and hold that spot right now, and I have a very intense look at Braden right now, but they're in there. I have Kentucky, I have North Carolina, and I have 2 Big Ten teams. I have Illinois and Purdue. Wonder how that's going to bite me in the ass when we get to March. So Purdue fans, you can lay off me for another week right now. You are clearly right now the best team in college basketball. The best team in college basketball just doesn't always win a national championship. So we're going to have more Purdue stuff coming. The schedule kind of opens up for them a little bit. They got Michigan this week. They're at Rutgers, but that should be a win. They can get revenge on Northwestern. Then they got the big one at the Kohl Center in a couple weeks. But from an Iowa perspective on this, kind of feels like a lost season a little bit. I know Carter has speculated that Fran McCaffrey might surprise retire at the end of this season. His kid's not going to come play for him. He set the Iowa wins record. Kind of would be a good time for it. Tony Perkins was awesome in this game. I feel like that's about all we learned. Did you learn anything about Iowa that matters in the big scope to you here?
No, I mean, I think with Iowa coming into the season, you knew they were going to be a team that needed to kind of run up the score. It's kind of worked out that way. They have scored less than 70 or fewer points 4 times this season. Lost every single one of those games. 2 of those games were against Purdue. The other 2 were against Iowa State and Oklahoma. If you look at their games, they have lost all but 1 game or all but 2 games, I guess, against KenPom top 80 teams. The 2 wins being Nebraska at home and Seton Hall. But it's a lost season. And we knew coming in, like, there was no, this player is going to catch your eye and take over for Iowa. And I feel like that's what they really need. The last few years, that's what they've had. And it's opened up the floor for every other player on the Hawkeyes roster. Now I feel like teams can just match up against them. They don't really have to worry about one player in particular. There's no Garza. There's no Murray. So it's just I think it's a lost season. Coming into the season, I said, look, their defense is going to dictate how good they are this year. Their defense isn't great. So worse than most Iowa defensive seasons. And that's almost an accomplishment at this point. So I think it's a lost season. They're still going to be really fun to watch this year just because they play fast and they score a lot of points and they let their opponents score a lot of points. So watching Iowa games is going to be really fun. But you look at the end of their season where it's Maryland, Wisconsin, Michigan State on the road, Illinois on the road, Northwestern on the road, and Illinois at home over 7 of their last 8 games. Mm-hmm. That's going to be an incredibly rough stretch. And that's not even taking into account that they have to go play Maryland in their next game, Michigan on the road, Indiana on the road, and Ohio State at home over the next 4. So they're 11-7 right now. I think they struggle to hit 20. And that's they're probably going to finish somewhere in that 17 to 18 range.
Yeah.
In terms of wins, no tournament.
Yeah. Feels like a primetime NIT team to me. Like a team that they get the NIT draw. They honestly could win the NIT if they get hot shooting for a month. But yeah, I don't know. I don't know what to make of the Fran era, man. It's sad because I fell in love with a lot of IO teams through the years. Specifically the Keegan Murray team. But like I liked those Luka Garza teams. In general, I like the way they play. It's an exciting brand of basketball, right? I think he obviously missed the window. Like, you're not going to get NBA talent to come to Iowa City consistently, and he had it. He had it for 3 years, and he did nothing with it. No Big Ten championships, no NCAA tournament runs of note. And I think everybody has to kind of come to terms with that now, even in a down Big Ten, where what are you really going to do with the Sanford brothers and Tony Perkins? And they're making the best of it they can, but I don't think there's much of an upward trajectory for Fran going forward. TKR, just one note I want to make, nothing we need to discuss, but TKR had a bad-looking injury for Purdue in the middle of, I think it was the second half of this game. From all that I've heard, it's not serious. When it happened, it kind of looked like it could potentially be one of those like season-ending injuries that's real bad. He was in some team video stuff at the end of the game, not noticeably on crutches or anything. So obviously our thoughts are with him. If he can get back to full strength, that'd be big. You don't want to see Purdue go down a starter here, but didn't exactly look great in the moment. And my final question for you as we leave Purdue here before we'll do a preview for Purdue and Michigan later this week. Zach Edey, you mentioned, Wilt Chamberlain-like numbers, 30 and 18 in this game, just stupid stuff. He's going to win National Player of the Year. It is what it is. 3 straight games with 30 points. Zach Edey is the best college basketball player since blank.
Are we talking career wise, or are we talking like, if I were to take any player in their best season, here's who I would put him the best since? Because like the answer is Psycho T, but I don't know if Psycho T had any one season that she obviously didn't have any one season as good as what Zach Edey's having right now.
Give me the season answer. Because Psycho T is the obvious, like, if we're just taking a player, you take hands, bro. But give me the season answer, because I think this gets more difficult as you think about it in the lens that you just said.
Tim Duncan.
It's a good answer. It's a very good answer. Here's my answer, which sounds absolutely absurd to say it out loud. I think Zach Edey right now this season is the best college basketball player in an individual season since Pete Maravich in 1970. I know this is insane. Pete Maravich averaged 44 points, 5 assists, and 6 rebounds. I don't think we've seen a better player since other than Zach Edey right now, man. It's insane how good this kid. It's a cheat code, Connor. It's a total cheat code. There's no answer for it. You can complain about the refs. It doesn't effing matter. This kid is an automatic 30 and 18 any game, like literally any game. There's nothing anybody can do about it. And man, he just needs the March run, right? That's literally all it takes for him to have a statue everywhere in college basketball. Hopefully it happens, man. Hopefully it happens.
Yeah, what was Tim Duncan? I'll look it up. His player of the year season was 21 points, just under 15 rebounds, 3 assists, 3 blocks a game. So, yeah. But yeah, I mean, that's the stratosphere that Zach Edey is playing in, right? He's playing two basketball Hall of Famers, 2 of the greatest college players to ever play, 2 of the greatest NBA players to ever play. That's the conversation we're talking about with Edey, and he's doing so well at it that, and I'm not an NBA draft guy, but from people I've been talking to, he's like overcoming the issues that a lot of traditional centers have had trying to make their way into NBA discussions. with the way he's playing right now. Like you've seen a lot of, Luka Garza, what it is not like was not drafted really high in the NBA draft. Obviously, Drew Timme, who had a fantastic career, wasn't, but Zach Edey's slowly working his way into that. He's so good, it doesn't matter. He doesn't shoot threes.
Yeah, no, 100%. And like, we're not an NBA podcast, clearly, where this isn't like an NBA expertise channel. But like, when you think about what Zach Edey's going to look like there, truly, he's so different to analyze than the other great college centers we've seen, because the sheer reality of it is, I don't think NBA centers are going to be able to guard him one-on-one. I just don't. Like, you can take the best NBA center there is right now, who, Joel Embiid. Like, if Zach Edey's one-on-one with Joel Embiid, I think he's scoring unless he gets fouled. And I think Zach Edey's going to foul. And I don't think that's been the case with like 6'11" centers with great footwork like Garza and Timme. And the reality of it is too, like, Edey, just through his size, is such a defensive impact guy. He moves his feet incredibly well for who he is. He stays out of foul trouble for who he is. It's wild. I can't wait to watch what happens. But
did you see that video that was making its rounds after the Iowa game where they're like, Edey had 10 seconds in the lane, and it was like the perfect, like, this is how good Edey's footwork is and how good his positional awareness is.
No, he's a genius, dude. Like, all this stuff is calculated. He knows how it works, and he avoids the fouls. Like, he really is this good. And I can't wait to see what happens when he gets to the NBA, because I think he's going to prove a lot of people wrong, and it's going to be fun to be on the right side of believing in him, quite frankly. So, all right, congrats, Purdue fans. Spare me a week of yelling at me in my mentions. Please, you're back in my Final Four predictions. We'll see if I can avoid talking about Caitlin Clark and her terrifying injury thanks to a court storm, which Matt Painter correctly predicted. That's probably the only thing that could get you guys mad at me again right now. Good luck. You have my Michigan Wolverines on Tuesday, I believe. We'll have a preview of that up on the channel. Thank you to Connor Hope from Heat Check CBB. We'll see you next time.